Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility. And I have a co-captain today for this particular episode, Mr. Simon Bray from the UK Connection. What's going on, Simon?
Um, Very little, really. Very little indeed. Here we are in the sunshine, probably for the only day this year. So good
Yeah,
times.
and definitely the only day on Sea of Tranquility because every time we talk to Simon, it's usually nighttime and he's in his house and complaining about how cold or windy or wet it is outside. But it's good to see you outside in the sunshine, my friend. So we're here today to talk about some dragons.
We
Here
are
Be Dragons, the latest from Tobias Sammet's Avantasia. Simon, I went and looked before we started talking. I can't believe this is 10 albums already for this band.
10 albums. Yes, indeed.
Wow. I really have not kept up with them in more recent years. And after listening to this, I'm thinking I need to rectify that situation because I quite enjoyed this.
I quite enjoy. Well, I very much enjoyed it. I think I've said to you before. I kind of climbed off the Avantasia train
Yeah.
a while ago, and I know some people think that Moonglow was the greatest thing in the history of mankind, but it's not one that I go back to on a regular basis. So I'm very pleased with Here Be Dragons. So yeah,
Yeah. I'm just pulling up some information on the band here because I'm trying to figure out exactly where I kind of stopped. I'm pretty, nah, I don't think I listened to Moonglow. I think Ghost Lights was the last one that I really paid any attention to, and that's almost 10 years ago. I think up until that point, I had been, if not fairly regular with them, like the Wicked Symphony I listened to, Scarecrow I think I have both, if or maybe at least one of the metal operas that they started with. But like a Paranormal Evening with the Moonflower Society, I'd never heard that. I'm pretty sure I'd never heard Moonglow. Um, so, how this one kind of ranks with some of the more recent albums, I really can't speak to, but I always felt that Avantasia to me was kind of like a power metal version of like Arion. So you've got, Tobias Sammet, of course, from Ed Guy. God, have they done anything in a million years? I've lost track with them as well. I'm not quite sure
they're
what's going
they're
on.
not a thing anymore, which kind of disappoints me because I really miss Ed Guy. I really do. A sense of fun and stupidity that bands don't necessarily have, and I think we need that at these times. That's not to say that I find Avantasia pale-faced or pretentious or anything. And I think Here Be Dragons is a fun album, but um, Ed Guy was just quite wacky at times, quite
They were
wacky
the
and
fun, goofy power metal band, I always felt.
goofy without being overly cheesy.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen them live and they're a blast. And so has he officially put them to bed, or are they just basically, is that kind of like Stephen Wilson with Porcupine Trees, kind of put him off the pasture, and when he feels the need, he'll resurrect it. I wonder if it's that sort of thing.
He has said that he likes being completely in charge, doesn't he? And he felt like he wasn't
Uh,
in the guy, but he does thank them all in the credits of Here Be Dragons. So maybe they're still mates, and maybe they'll come back and do it one more time. Who
yeah,
knows? Eh?
we'll see. So for the time being, I guess this is his kind of bread and butter, and I totally get it. So for those of you who maybe have never listened to the music of Avantasia, this is the concept of this is every album is somewhat of a concept album, if not a full-blown concept album, and he brings in a whole load of guest singers and musicians. It's like not quite a super group, but think of it as kind of like a rock opera, like a power metal rock opera type of thing. And here he's got a wonderful cast, and I don't know if we should just name them all to start or talk about them as we go through the songs.
Well, you could name them all, and we'll be here for a couple of hours. So,
Exactly. So why don't we just go through the songs and we'll bring them up. So I don't know about you, but right off the bat, Creep Show is a terrific song.
yep, I concur. It sounds like Avantasia, which I'm assuming is why it was the one of the singles. It just sounds like really catchy, really power poppy metally kind of fun time Avantasia. So it's as if they're saying, do you know what? We're still us.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to incorporate some Afro beats or anything like that. We're just, we are Avantasia. And was thinking about this when I was prepping for this. There is an argument to be said that, they are all 10 relatively similar albums, similar animals, as it were. But in a real sense, that's pretty good. I like that. I like it when you know what you're going to get. So without preempting what we're going to say, because I wasn't planning to talk about every song. Um, you've got your epics, you've got your catchy ones, you've got some pretty crunching guitars in places. Everything is there that is required on Avantasia album. It starts with Creepshow.
Yeah. I was amazed at just how catchy that track is and other songs on here. In fact, and I'm kind of new to the band, as you know, but as I was listening to Creepshow, I kind of the vibe I was getting. It doesn't sound like them, but I'm getting some Night Flight Orchestra vibes here. And again, I think that's because it's so high energy, it's so upbeat and uplifting and melodic and catchy. And I'm like, wow, what's wrong with having catchy choruses and, nice rock instrumentation and big vocals? And that's what it's all about, right? And there's lots of
Yeah,
that here.
there's far too much boo hoo hoo around, particularly since COVID. No, I want happy join us in my world, and this album certainly brought that since. And I think it's important to say that I don't know about you, but I bought this album.
I did too, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm coming from a I like this band, and I've paid for it, but you know, if it was shite, I would tell you that it was shite, and it's not shite. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And so let's talk about some of the vocalists on here. So we've got and when you really think about it, the fact, and granted, I know probably none of these guys were in the same room together or same studio together, but the fact that you've got not only Tobias, obviously, but you've got Jeff Tate, we've got Ronnie Atkins, we've got Bob Catley, who's doing his best, absolutely. We've got Roy Khan and Tommy Karavik on the same album. I bet you most people never would think that that would happen. Michael Kiskey's here, Kenny Glacrimo's here, and others. Of course, we've got Sasha Pyeth, who is playing all the guitars on here, who does a fantastic job, I might add. Um, the title track features a really nice duet between Tobias and Jeff Tate, and I think say what you want about what Jeff Tate has done in recent years, right? I quite frankly think a lot of his solo stuff and these bands he's put together has been mediocre at best, but the guy still can sing, maybe not the big high stuff like he used to, but on a song like Here Be Dragons, which is like mid-paced, kind of moody, um, perfect way to feature him, and him going back and forth with Tobias on this one is really, really good. There's great female backing vocals on it. I think it's a really, really strong track that really shows off Jeff Tate's strengths at this stage of the game where he's at. I really like that a lot.
yeah.
The Bob Catley song "Bring on the Night," I mean, it's amazing.
It's absolutely fantastic. I would say about the Jeff Tate song, the title song, that ordinarily Jeff Tate kind of makes me want to go, no. But on this one, it doesn't. It doesn't. He really doesn't. And I actually, when I was listening to it, I had to pick it up and go, "Who's that? Oh, right. I'm surprised by this. Okay." So it doesn't know, but the album is available in about 15,000 different versions, and there is a version um, where I think you get the without vocals and different mixes, and there is an 80s version of "Bring On the Night" with the Bob Catley song. That's just fantastic. That really is very much worth seeking out. It's on. I'm going to assume it's on Spotify. It's certainly on Amazon. That's really good. And Bob sounds quite fragile, yet grows into the song and ends up being really strong towards anything. And it's one of those choruses that you think, oh God, that's going to be following me around for days, and it absolutely has.
Yeah, yeah.
Really has. So,
I jotted down in my notes the word earworm quite a few times because I think there's lots of them on here.
yeah.
Um, I mean, just to throw some The Moorlands at Twilight, which has Michael Kiske joining
That's
him on it.
Yep,
Killer,
absolutely.
killer song. Killer song. I'm a big fan of the Pretty Maids, and I think Ronnie Atkins is a terrific singer, and he sounds amazing on Phantasmagoria, which is amazing. God, what else on here? I'm not familiar with her at all, but Adrienne Cohen, who's from Seven Spires. I mean, she's great on Avalon, which kind of like is like this Celtic metal type thing. I really like that a lot.
Yeah,
The
that's
guy
kind
from
of like
Heat is great. I know Rich Catino's probably all over this because of that, because he loves Heat. But man, Against the Wind, that guy Kenny Lacrimo, or however he says his name, killer.
yeah. Avalon's kind of like a modern day version of Farewell from Metal Opera, isn't it? But do you know what this album actually reminds me of? Latter period Meatloaf.
Yeah, it's kind of big that way and bombastic, right? Yeah, yeah.
Maybe if I had a quibble, it would be that the production is turned up to 20 stupid most of the time. Occasionally, just just let it breathe. You know, even when there's just like a little acoustic refrain or just a little bit of guitar, you think that's still the biggest sound I've ever heard.
That's the biggest sound I ever heard, whatever kind of bird that is.
Oh, I think it may well be a magpie. And I see, now, me being me, I've got to wait until I can see another one. Oh, there's three. It's okay, don't worry. Because you can't have one for sorrow, can you? So it's three of them in the big tree up there. So yeah, yeah. Sometimes you think just breathe, let the production, just let the production and the songs speak for themselves. But do you know what? That's a modern thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I would agree. And maybe the only song where they let it breathe is the last track with Roy Khan. Everybody's here until the end. That's kind of a little more mellow and atmospheric and kind of drifts along. But both the guys sound spectacular on it. That's probably the one, for me, the one track where they kind of let off on the gas a little bit on here, which, at least you get the one. But I tell you, it's what is it, about 50 minutes long, I think, something like that. It just start to finish, it's just very engaging, very fun, very uplifting. Um, you know, you call it like power metal, but I don't, it's kind of not. It is, but it isn't. It's like you said, it's got like this theatricality to it. I mean, the whole Meatloaf connection, I think, it makes perfect sense because it's big. It's like a big production. It's almost like something like this could be like a Broadway like musical or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just got that element of bombast but man, there's just hooks all over the place on here. The choruses are great, really, really good. That's why I brought up Night Flight Orchestra. I even at times I'm reminded of like a more metal Cats in Space because I think they're all going for that same mentality. Going back to a time where it was all about the hook, it was all about the chorus, and music should be fun and uplifting. And that's kind of what this is all about.
So songs are back.
Yeah,
You hit it first. It's the way
yeah,
forward.
yeah, they are. And the artwork is great, as always. I haven't showed the digipack here, but it's loaded with also there's Tobias. If you that's a perfect example of how, goofy fun this guy is, and that's what Ed Guy was all about, and that's what he's all about. And then we got the
Well, the artwork is what actually made this happen, isn't it? Because I sent this to you and said, "Jesus Christ, this is really good." And I'm not really an artwork kind of guy, I never get in the prog seat or anything like that. But the artwork's really, really good.
Yeah, it is. As is the artwork for most of the releases here. And again, you're talking dragons and battles and fairies and all this kind of stuff. And that's like kind of power metal 101, right? Maybe kind of cliche, but yeah, I love anything with dragons and whatnot. So it's funny because like when Simon brought this up on a previous UK Connection show fairly recently, I was kind of like, oh wow, they have another one out, and then I realized I'm like, God, I haven't listened to Avantasia in years, and then Ken Golden had it in stock, and he was talking about it, and I was like, you know what, I'll take one of those because I trust Simon's opinion, and I know you were really enjoying it, and I was like, holy shit, this is really good, and makes me think that I need to investigate those albums that I've missed, over the last 2 years. So.
The artwork's Rodney Matthews, isn't it? I'll just check that fact.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we should mention that because he's done some work with them before. Yeah, that's totally, totally Rodney, and we got to show the whole thing because that's the way it's supposed to be presented, right? So, yeah, I don't know. What would you give this? I think I would give it an easy 4 out of 5 star, I think.
That would be exactly what I would give it.
Okay, Cool. We are on the same wavelength here. It's a lot of fun, folks. If you have been a fan all through their career, this will be another enjoyable album for you. There's an all-star cast. Like I said, we've named everybody who's on here pretty much. There's some additional backing vocalists and Felix Bonke on drums. I don't know who that is. But
He's
yeah,
the drummer for Eye, my friend.
is he really?
He's indeed.
Wow. Why did I not know that? I'm not familiar with that.
Oh,
I only remember guitar players for some reason. I don't know. But yeah, good stuff here, and lots of orchestrations, lots of good chugging riffs, blazing lead guitar work from Sasha Pyeth, and yeah, it's quite good. Good sounding album. It's big, it's loud, it's brash, it's enjoyable, and we both give it a thumbs up. And Simon's gotten all sorts of blurry, but I don't know. This looks like a weird filter. Looks,
It must be the sun. It's
and,
not
oh,
the
that's what it was. Yeah, it was the glare. There we go.
moved me away.
There
I'm
we go.
not used to that big orange thing. I just no. Yeah. So,
I haven't, well, I guess because the weather's getting warmer, I probably should start thinking about doing more outdoor shows because I have a back patio, kind of like you have. And I didn't do enough of it last year because it was so fucking hot here in New York. It's like the last thing I want to do is sit outside and record shows, but I will have to consider that going forward. So we'll see. So if you've listened to the album, folks, let us know what you think of it. If not, go check it out and put your comments down below, and we'll see you next time. Just as a little heads up, I will be reviewing the overview by Stephen Wilson alongside the other member of the UK connection, Mr. Stephen Reed. So look forward to that coming up later today on the channel as well. So stay tuned for that and more. And we've got UK connection coming up this Saturday. So don't miss that. We got a fun episode of what are we calling this? Albums in our collection. I don't even know what the title of it is going to be yet.
forgotten albums. Forgotten albums in our collection. Ones that we look
Forgotten albums. Okay, yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it.
at.
Yeah. So we
I
basically
hope I do because we're going to be talking about it later today. Let's give some secrets away. I hope I can remember them.
that is true. That is true. Basically, our assignment was to go through our collections and we see something on the shelf and we have no idea what it is and we pull it out. And we're like, that's basically what we're talking about. So we've picked out five each. We've gone and re-listened to them, and we're going to talk about whether we think it's something that needs to stay, or whatever our perception is, why we bought it. If we have any recollection of or how we acquired it, that's the episode. So I've come up with five pretty interesting ones that, on a couple of those, kind of like I have no clue what this is or how it wound up in this house, but sometimes, and then you go and you spin it, you're like, all right, this is okay. Maybe now I kind of understand why. So that's coming up on the UK Connection on Saturday. Stay tuned for that. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. For Simon Bray, I am Pete Pardo. I was almost going to say, and for Stephen Reed, but he's not on this episode. He will be later. So we'll find Stephen. We'll find him. He's out there lost somewhere. We'll pluck him out of the space. So take care, everybody. Thanks for watching us here, and more reviews to come. See you later. Bye bye.